Guys, Buddy Corbin with the REIAnetwork.com. I'm here in the studio with Doug Shaddix. Doug, thanks for being with us today, sir.
Thanks for having me. It's a delight to be here.
Excellent, excellent. And we're going to be talking today about asset protection, Asset Protection 101 today. We're happy to have Doug do a monthly class for us. This month we're going to be talking about the basics of asset protection, about getting started and understanding asset protection. And we're going to start, the purpose of this class is to start with the very basics. And this is something Doug does day in and day out. And if you need more information about Doug, we've got a link there on the homepage or on Doug's page to the radio programs that he's done for us to give you some more information. But Doug's going to teach us about the very basics of doing asset protection. And we're going to start with some entities, right, Doug?
Right.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, Doug, you just take it from there. And if I have any questions, I'll hold those questions until you're done. And then we'll just see where this goes.
Well, let me start off with a little brief overview or an introduction of myself and who I am. I went to Georgia State University and got a political science degree, and when after that I went to work for a congressman. And upon Reagan's election, I left the congressman and moved to Washington to go to work for the Reagan administration in international trade at the Department of Commerce. I had been going to law school at night, so I put the law degree on hold and moved up to Washington. I met a young lady who worked in the White House, and because of her role, I had an opportunity to have a couple of interviews for some for mid-level jobs at the White House. And when I was getting passed over by other people who had a law degree, I decided, you know what, it's time to get back home, get the law degree, and get back up here so I could have let's just say, compete at the higher levels. So I left Washington, came back to Atlanta, where the cost of living was substantially less, and went back to law school and completed that. But when I graduated, my party was not in power anywhere in the city limits of D.C., and so I just stayed in Atlanta and went to work for King & Spalding, which is a big defense firm. Actually, it's the biggest defense firm in the world. Worked for King & Spalding some years until I needed to get my life back. It doesn't matter what you do there. It's never quite enough. So I left to get my life back and went out on my own to do asset protection. Asset protection because we're real estate investors.
Right.
Because we needed to put our entities in structures that would help protect us and shield us from lawsuits. Because working for a huge defense firm like King & Spalding, you see what a litigious society it is. And the people are suing everybody for tiny little things. So it seemed to me quite reasonable that if somebody fell down the deck of one of my properties, that they'd think, well, this guy's got deep pockets. Just because you own a rental property, they think you've got some money and they want to go after you. And I wanted them to be able to go after that property and an LLC or a trust that owned it, and not me personally for all of my insurance or my house or my car or my stuff. The perfect example would be my daughter when she turned 16. I'm looking at this girl thinking, my goodness, if the child has a wreck, who are they going to sue?
Right.
And they're not going to sue her. They're going to sue me. So I decided I was going to get that car out of my name and into a personal property trust or something. So if she had an accident, you know, we would do the right thing. The insurance would cover things. But if they wanted to sue me, they're suing the trust. And the only thing they get if they win it all is the assets of that trust, one wrecked vehicle. So I do asset protection to try to help shield people from lawsuits. But asset protection is there's two sides of the same coin. There's the estate planning aspect of it. We set up entities, trusts, family limited partnerships, corporations, limited liability companies, and that sort of thing to move your assets into to be a shield between you and a lawsuit. But then you also want to protect yourself after death from the biggest predator of all, the IRS, by being able to pass along what you've worked hard for to your heirs without the Internal Revenue Service coming in and stealing 47%, because that's where the estate tax starts, at 47%. So I help, essentially what I do through the use of trusts and LLCs is to help clients avoid probate and to minimize their tax burden and to maximize their privacy so that folks can't take what you've worked hard for easily. You want to make it as expensive and as time-consuming and as painful for them as you possibly can if they're going to sue you. So the term asset protection seems rather self-evident, but what you're really trying to protect yourself from is not just lawsuits, but taxes in my way of thinking. So that's what I try to do for my clients. John D. Rockefeller said, "Own nothing, control everything," and that's really the bottom line to all this. If you own it, you can be sued for it, but if you don't own it, but you control it through a limited liability company, then it's the LLC that's being sued, not you personally. So they're not coming after your stuff. one way to sort of describe it is through a visual here. So I brought a couple of bags, and I want to show you.
Hold on a second. Let me get back to where you're at there. At the other. Okay.
What's the best way to do this?
That's good right there.
Stand up or
you can stand up and back up if you want to, Doug, and they're going to be able to see you on that camera there.
What about the mic?
Just pull the mic up with you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so here we've got just a little visual. It's a bag, and so I ask you, well, what's in the bag? Well, there's not any way to really know. I mean, if it said it was a Linux China on front, that would be indicative that perhaps it's Linux China, but that name might be misleading also. So let's look and see what's in the bag. Okay, well, you look in here, and there's another bag. This is what I do for a living. I try to help put veils and walls and safes, put people's assets behind veils and walls for predators to have to climb over and then put it in a safe. Because then when you look in here, there's another bag. And you go further, you've caught on by now, I guess, that inside here, there's another bag. So
what would these bags be, Doug?
Well, one would be perhaps the name of your land trust.
Okay.
To kind of help throw it off, and I'll get into some of that. But let's say it's named the Cobb County Animal Shelter Trust. Mm-hmm. Well, I want some lawyer to look at that and go, oh no, that's the county government. I don't want to sue the county government. So you're trying to forestall a lawsuit by what you name it. We'll get into that in depth, but the example I'd like to give here is just, let's say that, you ladies take off your diamond ring and you put it in this bag and you walk through the mall with your diamond in this bag. Is it protected? Well, no, it's not protected, but it's hidden, and that might be 80% of the value. It's hidden. Nobody knows what it is. It's not out in the open, but it's at least hidden. You want it hidden, you put it in the safe deposit box. Well, that's back to your question, buddy. That's sort of what these are indicative of. If you put it in a bag and you put the bag in a safe deposit box, and you have different ways of trying to shelter or hide what you've got so that they have to jump through various hoops in order to sue you. So we'll get into various ways that these bags will relate to, and you'll see that we're not just going to use one bag. We're going to put a bag in a bag in a bag and try to make it pain-consuming for individuals to attempt to sue you. So let's talk about different types of entities. The ones that I would utilize to let me scroll down on the screen here to give you a few ideas. There are a couple of different types of corporations. There are different types of limited liability companies. There's a family limited partnership. There are a variety of trusts that we'll get into. But types of entities that are useful for asset protection would be these that are here on your screen. Now, there are a couple of different types of corporations, well, at least three. One of them is a nonprofit, which we won't necessarily deal with, although that's quite useful for people who have attained great means, and down the road they want to attempt to pass income and assets on to their heirs. That's you can do that through nonprofits and foundations. That's a nice thing for families to do that have major means. But every corporation that's set up is set up as a C corporation. A C corporation is like Sears. Sears has inventory. They sell a sofa. They pay tax on what they make. They pay pay tax on the income they generate from selling the sofa. Then they pay their employees, and the employee pays tax on their income. So it's the so-called double taxation thing that you're familiar with. But there's also an S corporation. Now, like I said, all corporations are set up as a C corporation because the state doesn't care, isn't so much concerned about the taxing aspect of it. That's the IRS. That's the federal government that's concerned about that. So you can opt for S corporation status.
You have just watched a preview of one of our many online subgroups. Do you have questions about real estate investing and strategies? The REIA Network hosts a variety of topics and continues to add and update on a monthly basis. You can gain knowledge and get the answers you need for a membership of only $19.95 a month. Your membership will gain you access to skilled professionals that share their experience and knowledge through subgroups, forums, and an online bookstore with digital downloads under $10. For an overview of our services, including how you can make money for yourself, your local REIA, or both, go to www.thereanetwork.com.